Today I want to go ahead and take a second to show you a new unit that GOOLOO just came out with. This is their new model. It's the A2. It's a built-in all-in-one unit. They advertise it as being an 8-in-1 unit. And what they're basically describing by that, not only does it have a jump starter pack built in, but it's also able to charge your phone devices so you can use it as a power bank, as well as it has a built-in air compressor. It's been really cool to watch these units evolve over time, and I like to check out all the different brands and see what they've got to offer. Amongst the probably dozen or so of these that I've tried out now over the last year and a half, GOOLOO's been one of the ones that's kind of stood out to me in terms of the reliability and how capable they are as a unit. With that being said though, they are kind of a sleeper in the market. They're one that you don't usually see heavily advertised, but at the same time, they do pack a punch, especially at the price point you could pick these up at. So let's go and dive into this unit real quick. I've had the opportunity to kind of test it out a little bit, and then I do have a vehicle here that I'm going to go ahead and try this out on that will not start at the moment, and I'm going to show you that. I'll show you the voltage that this vehicle is at currently, and then we'll go ahead and stick this thing on the vehicle and see if we can get this thing to start. Now this unit isn't fully charged. I have been testing this on tires just to kind of get an idea of how the air compressor works, and while I'm at it, I'll go ahead and explain to you how I felt like that worked. So what's cool about this is it does come with a separate hose right here, and once you get this thing out of the package, this thing has a really nice soft storage case that you could store this in, and it's got partitions in it as well, so the unit slides in its own separate spot, and then it's got a separate pocket for all the cables and attachments as well. When it comes to the air compressor here, you just basically thread this into the top like this. And then what's also cool about it is you have different presets. So when you first get into this unit here, you'll notice you've got all these buttons here across the front, one of them being the power button here, but then you've also got the plus and minus, which will adjust the PSI or the desired PSI you want to actually run that at. And then you've also got a button here, which is a preset, and essentially it'll run you through like bicycle, ball, tire, and then the one where it lights up all the icons at once, what that's going to do for you is basically allow you to set like an 80 or 100 PSI if you need to do so. Otherwise, if you're in the other presets, they have like max pressure settings that you can go to. But this unit is capable of going up to 150 PSI. Now what I've noticed, all these little jump starter packs like this kind of fall into separate categories. Now this one here is rated at 150 PSI for the air compressor, and it's a 2500 amp peak output when it comes to the jump starter pack. Now a lot of times, especially on my diesel vehicles, I tend to like to have like a 4000 amp pack. Now this one here is rated to be able to start a 8-liter gas engine or a 6-liter diesel engine. Technically my personal pickup being a 5.9-liter Cummins, this does fit the bill and it should be able to start that no problem. Now what I have found though is I like to keep a little more power on hand, especially on a cold day when that thing hasn't been plugged into a block heater, and something like this would have a hard time starting that vehicle, especially in extreme conditions. But with the vehicle that we're going to use for the testing today is a 4.8-liter gas engine, so this unit should be more than enough for that. And as I mentioned, these kind of fit into categories. So something like this, the way I'm going to describe it is it's going to be great for a passenger vehicle or even like an SUV. For me, in my instance, I would put this in my wife's SUV and let her have this in the vehicle in the event that something came up that she needed it. What's also nice about something like this for her is if she goes to sporting events and she needs to, say, air up a soccer ball before the kids practice, or even if she wanted to take this thing on the field with her and be able to use it, like I said, as a power bank to charge up her phone or a tablet while she's out there on the field for hours at a time, this would be perfect for that. Now, there are power banks you could pick up that are dedicated units that are going to be maybe smaller and lighter in size for you to carry. So keep that in mind as well. But like I said, in a pinch, you could throw this thing in a bag pretty easily and take that out and have that available to you. Now, back to the air compressor for a second. Now, I will say, I have used stronger air compressors on the market. Now, granted, they're going to have a higher price point as well. So if this thing was in your passenger vehicle or your SUV, it had no problem airing those tires up to 30 or 40 PSI. Now, I went ahead and decided to try to push the limits on this unit. When I aired up a tire, I went out to my dump trailer, which is a little bit larger tire than a passenger vehicle, but it holds 80 PSI. Now, with a fully charged battery, I was not able to get 80 PSI into that tire. I was able to get it up to 60 PSI, and that did take quite some time to get it up to that point. I did charge the unit back up and tried it again. I went around and aired up my livestock trailer, which doesn't take as high of a PSI, and I was able to get all those tires up 10 to 15 PSI a piece on one full charge. So this unit could technically top off all the tires on your vehicle and then some, but if you're trying to take one tire from completely flat up to a desired PSI of 40 or above, you're probably only going to get that one tire on one full charge. So just keep that in mind. Now, something I was really impressed with on this unit when it came to the air compressor was after running this thing for 20 and 25 minutes at a time on that one tire, it never got hot. It does a really good job of keeping the heat out of this unit. I have actually had some units in the past from different brands where after running this thing for max of 10 to 15 minutes, they get hot to the touch, like 100 degrees or more. This unit never once got hot to touch. Now, if it's going to be 80, 90, 100 degrees outside, you may have problems with that in the summertime, especially with the sun beaming down. My tests were all run in a 50 to 60 degree environment outdoors, so maybe that had a little bit to do with how well it cooled the unit while it was working. To take that for what it's worth, I think this is a very capable unit when it comes to the air compressor. Now, let's go ahead and move on to the jump starter pack and what that thing does for you. Now, as I mentioned, I've got a battery here that's basically depleted. The vehicle will not start. I'm gonna run around and show you real quick that the key will not work. So I'll run around here and I'll key this thing on, and what you're gonna see is I get nothing at all from my dash, doesn't even ding or light up. Let's take a look at our voltage meter now real quick, and I'll show you that we're getting on this unit, on this battery here right now, we are getting 8.3 volts on the battery. So that's not gonna be enough to crank it over or start. So this should be a pretty good test for this unit. Now, all the GOOLOO units I've found that I've tested or seen online so far, they all pretty much have the same cord setup like you see here. The clamps are pretty decent quality, probably one of the better ones on the market that I've come across so far. The cords aren't overly thick. There are some models on the market that have a little bit thicker cord. Most of those are gonna be on the 4,000 amp units though. And with this being a 2,500 amp unit, it's not gonna require as heavy of a cord. Now, the other thing too that's unique to GOOLOO is how they do this little dongle that plugs into the unit. Down here at the bottom, you've got a red and a green light that's going to say correct or incorrect if you hook these up correctly to your battery. So essentially, if you hook them up backwards, it'll show you a red light. If you hook them up correctly, it'll show you that green light. Now, there's also a boost button on here as well. And when you hit that button, in my case, I may have to actually use that. If your battery voltage is too low, essentially you can bypass the unit's safety features, and it gives you a little extra kick to get the vehicle started. So if you're in that, I'm gonna say 5 to 7, this might even be 9 volt in this case. We'll see, and we'll try that without the boost button first. So let me go ahead and get this unit hooked up real quick, and we'll see if we can get this thing running. Got my negative hooked up and my positive hooked up. I got my green light illuminated on my unit here. I'm gonna set this down and see if I can start the vehicle without hitting the boost button first. So we'll start. I've got nothing, so it's still doing the same thing. So now I'm gonna go ahead and hit that boost button real quick. I should hear a click. The unit clicked, so now we're gonna run back around and try to start it again. All my dash lights come on, and it fires up no problem at all. So you can see how quick and easy that was to start up. Now, as I mentioned, the battery on my unit was not fully charged. It was at 3. And it stayed at 3 on the battery level out of 4 bars on there. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing disconnected. And now at this point, I just wanna leave the vehicle running, let the alternator charge the battery back up. Let me go ahead and shut the vehicle off and we'll get this video finished out for you. So as I mentioned, you can see how easy it was to get this vehicle started. Now, with that being at 8 volts, the battery could have been more dead than this. It'd have taken more out of the unit to get it done. Or the battery could have just been at 10 or 11 volts and it just needed a little extra to get it over that hump to get the starter to engage and get the vehicle running again. So most of the time, if your battery's not that dead, you should be able to get multiple, if not maybe even a dozen starts out of one unit before full charge. But I do recommend, especially if you're in that 3/4 or even half range on the battery, go ahead and take the unit inside and charge it back up a little bit. That way you're fully charged, and if you do have that struggle that one time that you need the battery to be fully charged, you're not left without having enough battery to get the job done. But this unit also does have a flashlight built into it as well. So on the end here, the button on the right, you've got this, and I've got a little light here as well. It's a 400 lumen light. It's not crazy bright, but I'll tell you what, when you're under the hood and you just need to kind of see a little bit or get the light going, or if you're trying to air up a tire, that's all you're really gonna need. And then if you hit the button, it does flash. Overall, I think this is a pretty cool unit. It comes in at a pretty attractive price point for the most part as well. If you're looking for something that's kind of all-in-one that you can stick in the trunk or maybe in the hatch, check out this one made by GOOLOO. I think this might fit the bill for you. Appreciate you guys taking the time to watch. We'll catch you guys on the next one.